This is part two of Chukas-Bolok. So the second part will go about the understanding the whole Poroh. We always will learn the Poroh is a chok, we don't understand. But I've seen from how Rav Sherki and probably from Manitou, how they explain it very, very nicely. So we saw in the first part that Chukas-Bolok does not like us to be busy with death. He wants us to be busy with life, and only somebody that's busy with life can enter the Beis Hamikdash, probably because he can be besimcha. Somebody that touches death sees, becomes depressed and sad, and this is not a place for the Beis Hamikdash and for anything that has to do with Kedusha. Kedusha is about life. And in life form, the Kedusha is still a remnant of what happened in Gan Eden. In Gan Eden, there was no death. And so therefore, the idea of death is something which is suboptimal. It's actually something which is only a plan B. But the plan A is, of course, only living and an eternal life in this world, as we explained in the last part, the first part. So what about this Poroh? If you look on the ingredients of the Poroh, there is something very interesting. Let's maybe start with the first part. We are Olam Koton. It's a famous Mamar, I think it's Chazal, but it's taken over a lot in Kabbalah. There is everything in the human being. Like the human being has the 10 spheres, and since he has the 10 spheres, he also has everything that exists in the world. And of course, you have the doimim, the things that are not alive. Then you have the things that are alive, which are the tzomeach. Then you have the things which are alive, which are even moving around, and this is the chai. And then you have the odom. Now, when a person dies, everything disappears suddenly. The whole olam kotan disappears. And what we are doing actually, we are when a person touches this, in order to regain simcha, what he has to do, he has to kind of experience a Techiyas Hameisim. How can you experience Techiyas Hameisim? And that's exactly what the whole Poroh is all about. So the Poroh has actually two dimensions. The first dimension is simply the revival of everything that died with the person. I'll give you an example. So what we have is in the tzomeach. In the tzomeach, what we have is tzomeach meaning the plants. So what we do is we take all the plants and that existed, we actually burn it, we destroy it, we kill it, and then what we are doing is we're reviving it, and I will explain how to revive it. How can we kill all the plants to symbolize it? So what we do is we take in the spectrum of the plants, we take the biggest plant, we take the smallest plant, and we take both of them and we burn it together with the Poroh. So what is the biggest plant in the Middle East at the time? Was the erez. Basically it is the eighth erez. It's the plant, the biggest tree that existed, Arzei al-Vonon, that was up in the north of Eretz Israel. And the smallest plant that exists is actually the azov. So the azov is the smallest plant. It's like kind of grass, kind of. I don't know how you translate it in English anymore. Yesterday somebody mentioned it, but in any case, these are the smallest plants. And so we take the smallest and the biggest, and we burn it together as if we have burned all the plants we killed all the plants. Then we take also the biggest animal and the smallest animal. I know that the biggest animal is the hippopotamus and the elephant, and there are big, enormous animals. But in the domesticated animals, it is, and the kosher is the Poroh. So the Poroh is the biggest. But also, why do we take a female and not a male? Which is a bit strange, because for all the korbanos tzibur is always a male korban, and by the Poroh Adumoh, it's also a tzibur, korban tzibur, that we do outside of Beis Hamikdash, but it's a tzibur, and still it is a female, because a female represents life. When a woman gives birth, why does she become tumah? It's because she lost life. She had more life than when she was pregnant, and suddenly once she gave birth, she lost a part of life, so she has less life. But a woman, if she gave birth to, I'm saying, a nekevo, a female, then her life was even more, because the female can give life. Men don't give life; they produce life, but they don't give life. They are not really. That's why Chava is called Chava, because she's a aim. She gives life. She's a chayo. She gives life for others. She can produce life. I mean, and so therefore the what do you call it? When a woman gives birth to a female baby, then she's double tumah. She's tumah for 14 days, not 7 days, because she lost even more life when she was pregnant versus when she was pregnant. And so therefore we take a Poroh Adumoh, we take the biggest living animal, but really that's life. It's a Poroh and it's Adumoh. Adumoh is also a symbol for life. It's a symbol for health. You look healthy when you have a nicely red face. People who have death, unfortunately, become white. That's how you know the difference. Malbin pnei chaveroi. The whole idea of white means death, and red means life. It's Adumoh, oidum. It's kind of the color of life. And we also take the smallest animal, which is the Shnitolas. It's kind of a worm that is red that we are taking, and we're taking the biggest and the smallest. So we're taking the whole spectrum of all the living animals, but we can't take them all. So what we're doing is we're taking the biggest and the smallest, and therefore it is as if we took all the animals of the world, and we kill it, we burn it, and we make them into ash. And then what we're doing is we are taking all these elements and we are making the ash. We put it in Techiyas, and the Techiyas represents the body of a human being. Because the body of human being, what is important in human being is his inside and not his outside. The external is only external. We all know it's altir b'kamkam. It's only what is outside, but what inside is really what counts. And the Techiyas also represents the human body, that only the inside counts, because the Techiyas becomes tumor only from the inside. You can touch it how much you want, it will not become tumor, and it will not give over the tumor. The only way that you become tumor is by putting your fingers inside the Techiyas. You become tumor, and the Techiyas will become tumor only from the inside. And you don't even have to touch the inside, you just have to put your finger within the receptacle. And so this represents the body. So we put the ashes in the body, and then we put the Maim Chaim on top of it. And the Maim Chaim is very interesting, because Maim Chaim is actually the name that the Torah gave it to them. It's Maim Chaim. He could have said Mei HaBe'er or Mei HaMayon, Maim Shel HaMayon. He could have used the other words that is used later on as well, but he uses Maim Chaim. He wants to express that this is living water. What does it mean, living water? It means that it is a water that gives life. And so therefore he revives the water by the water, putting water in there, it revives whatever is death, was death created by death. And so suddenly we have what we call a Techiyas Hameisim. It's a producer of Techiyas Hameisim. I know that halachically it's not like I explained it. Halachically, first you put in the water and then you put in the ashes. But if you read in the Pasuk from a pure technical, textual perspective, it says, "V'nosam olav Maim Chaim." You should put on it the Maim Chaim el Keli, in the Keli. So seemingly that you put the Maim Chaim from a textual perspective. I don't know why Chazal changed the order, because they wanted to learn it in a different way. But I'm just explaining you from a pure textual Torah Shebichsav perspective, not Torah Shebichsav. And so basically we have here a re-experience, an experience of Techiyas Hameisim, that we are, that's similar to what will happen in Techiyas Hameisim. Also, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take whatever left over from the bodies, we'll mix it with all kind of material, and then we'll put in it his Ruach Chaim, which represents by the Maim Chaim. They will put kind of a Maim Chaim in us, in the Neshama, and therefore we will get up after death. And so therefore this is the reenactment, and it should give us hope again. And through doing these procedures, eventually we will become the simcha again, or we can regain the simcha, which allows us to go into the Beis HaMikdash. Now, something very interesting is, so what about the different materials that we are using as well? So we are using, very interesting, because we are using the basic materials of which the world is created. As we said before, so you have the doimen, we have the someach and the chai. So the someach and the chai we've used up. What about the doimen? And indeed, there are, if you want, 4 different types of doimen, the basic material of the world, which is there are different versions from it, but let's say there is a fire, there is a ground, offer, and then there is water, and then there is avir. And so we using all the 4 different materials that is being used in this procedure. We're using the offer, which is the Techiyas. The Techiyas represents the offer. We're using the fire by the burning of the Poroh Adumoh together with the other 3 ingredients. And then we are using the water is the Maim Chaim. I think maybe I've said it already, the fire, the water, and the ground. But what about the avir? And that's something very interesting, because the avir also we are using in the Poroh Adumoh, because it's not the whole Poroh Adumoh only works if the Kohen sprinkles, he spritzes on the Tome. And that's something very interesting. It's not the person that is Tome is not enough that he goes and he touches the water. It has to be that the Kohen has to sprinkle it. So in other words, it has to go in the air, and through going the air touches the person, and therefore he becomes Torah. That's an amazing chidush in the Torah. It is only the hazoya that helps. I don't think that if you go and you touch it yourself, that it will be you become Torah. Now I don't know. I haven't checked that, but from the text perspective, it's clear that it has to be a sprinkle, has to be an hazoya in that is metaher. Why? Because it goes through the air. Therefore, you have all the four materials of what the world is created, the universe is created, that has been used in the revival of the person. The person was touched by death, so he lost a little bit, and now what we're doing is a Techiyas Hameisim again. And so basically, it seems that indeed the how do you call it? It seems that the Poroh Adumoh can be explained in a rational way. And so somebody asked, if that's the case, basically, why is, for example, the Mazeh, why does it say the Torah that the Mazeh, why is somebody that according to the text sprinkles his clipping Tumah? Now, first of all, it's indeed not like that. The Mazeh is not becoming Tumah, and I will explain soon why. But if somebody touches the Mechatos, becomes Tumah. And that's the Chok. The Chok is that there is something very particular in this din, is that the Poroh Adumoh is metaher the Tumah, that from Tumah Mes is clearly becoming Torah. After the seventh time, it becomes Torah. But what happens is that whoever touches the Mechatot, that is not being Tumah normally and halachically, he touches it, he becomes Tumah. So it is something that is Tumah that is Metaher. And that's something very strange. How can something that is himself Tumah, that is also Metamah, can also be Metaher? Either you're Tumah or you're Torah. So how can you have these two elements together? And this is the Chok. This is something that we don't understand. Now, I said before that although it says in the Posuk, Umaze me'anid is Yechabes B'godo, so Chazal learned that it is not everything that is not the one that spritzes that becomes Tumah. And so the Chazal took out of context. It clearly says the one that spritzes, that sprinkles, is becoming Tumah. And the Chazal is learning that no, it doesn't mean. The person, it means just that he touches, and how much the shear has to be from a touching, how much shear of the Mechatos has to exist, and it has to be a shear Azoy. So we're only learning for the shear Azoy. So we are taking out a complete text from the context, from the Poshet Pshat, and we're learning completely different. And so the question is why? And so the Torah Mimes says something very, very interesting. He says that if for every spritzing, every time that the Kohen spritzes, he becomes Tomer, like it says in the Posuk, and since the only person that is allowed to spritz is only the Ish Torah, but also Ish Torah, it only has to be an Ish Torah that can do it. So that means that, in other words, if a person would have to sprinkle on multiple people and multiple items, he could not do it, because the moment that he would do it, alo oil, as it says in the Posuk, v'hizo alo oil, v'al kol ha'kelim, v'al ha'nefushtos asher yushom. So he can do it in one go. He can go like that, sprinkle the whole time on everything in one go. The moment that he does the first one, if he would do it on the oil, for example, then he has to stop already. Why? Because he becomes Tumah. And if he becomes Tumah, he has to go to the mikveh, has to wait in the night, and then only afterwards he could sprinkle the next one. But it seems that you can do it in one go. That's what the Mimes says. That it seems that you can do v'hizo alo oil v'al ha'kelim v'al ha'nefoshes asher hoyu shom. So that the v'al ha'nogea be'etzem or b'chol or b'mes or b'kuvet. So basically, it seems that you can do it with one action. You can sprinkle on multiple items together. So you can do it like a few times in a day. You can do the whole day a sprinkle on a lot of different items. That's a finish from third minute, but I think it's quite a nice thought, at least, to understand. If it would have been like the Poshet Pshat, it would become impossible, because you would need as many Kohanim as people that are Tameim, or you need a lot of days in order to be able to do it, because after each spritz, then the Kohen has to go to the mikveh, wait till the night, then do the next person, etc., etc. And so you would need a lot of kahanim and a lot of time in order to be able to be metayr everybody. So it doesn't make sense. And so when the Torah says, it means somebody that touches it either accidentally, whatever it is, for whatever reason, and therefore he becomes a Tom. I also added a little chiddush of mine, which I had already a long discussions also with Serge Landau, which was that the person that goes into, that receives the spritzen from, he also, he receives a sprinkle of the mechatos, so he still needs to go to the mikveh. And so there, I wanted to say a chiddush, that why does he have to go to the mikveh still? He received already the sprinkle on the third day, he received the sprinkle on the seventh day, so the sprinkle should be enough to be matayr. Why does he still have to go to the mikveh on the seventh day? And so my chiddush was, he has to go to the mikveh because he touched the mechatos. So the mechatos is matayr, but at the same time also metam. And so therefore he cannot become toyer unless he goes to the mikveh. So the mikveh of the seventh day is not because of the tumenes, but it is because he touched the mechatos. And I remember having a whole discussion also with my brother, he also brought rayas, I think, against this chat, because the longest and the chakir is, if after the seventh spritzen, the tumas mes goes away, and so there's only a new kind of tumor that reappears, which is the tumor of, on the seventh day, you touch the mechatos, and so it's the tumas mes disappeared, but there is only a new tumor, which is only a tumor, which is a kind of, you become a rishon tumor, not anymore. You're not anymore an avatum. You are becoming a rishon tumor, because avatum is the mechatos, and you become a rishon tumor. And so basically, there would be an afkamin lalocha, and I think that he brought me rayas that it's not like that. That basically he still is a tumas mes till he doesn't go to the mikveh. But in any case, I think it's not from one raya that you cannot continue the thought process and understanding how this works. So this is part two, rationalization of the Poroh Adumoh, in explaining that what we are doing is a Techiyas Hameisim story, and that the way that it works is actually to avoid us touching, in order for us to remind ourselves too much of death and to be busy with death, but to actually to give us back hope in the Techiyas Hameisim, to give us back the simple, so that we can enter the Beis Hamikdash. In part 3, I will try to explain why Moshe and Aaron were both punished after the story that happened in this week's parsha, that they cannot enter Eretz Yisrael.